At my daughter's graduation party, she announced, "My stepdad bought me a car. My real dad never did anything." I smiled and left. My daughter Rebecca just graduated valedictorian. I've paid $340 monthly child support for 11 years, plus her phone, insurance, dance lessons, everything. Most importantly, hey, I'd been secretly building her a $91,000 college fund since she was born. The divorce happened when Rebecca was 7. Her mom, Patricia, remarried Trent 4 years ago. This guy who sells insurance but acts like he's running Goldman Sachs, always posting about his investments on social media, driving a leased BMW, living in the expensive part of town. Classic fake it till you make it type. But here's what really got to me. Trent had been slowly poisoning Rebecca against me. Little comments like, "Your real dad should be doing more," or "If I were your father, I'd handle this differently." I heard it through Rebecca's casual mentions, but I figured she was smart enough to see through it. I was wrong. At her party, Rebecca grabs the microphone. "My stepdad, Trent, actually invests in my future," she announces to 50 people. "My real dad never did anything like this." Trent's grinning like he just won the lottery. My ex-wife won't look at me. Everyone's staring. My own brother Zach looked like he wanted to punch someone. The neighbors were staring at their shoes, but Rebecca wasn't done. She kept going. "I finally know what it feels like to have someone who cares enough to make grand gestures. Someone who actually wants to invest in my future." Each word was a knife. This was my kid, the one I'd driven to every soccer practice, stayed up with during every fever, taught to drive in empty parking lots on weekends. I could have listed everything I'd done. I could have mentioned the college fund right there. Instead, I hugged Rebecca, said, "Congratulations," and walked out. That night, I sat in my kitchen thinking about what she said, about Trent investing in her future, about him being someone who actually cares. Fine. If Trent wanted to be the real father, he could handle the real responsibilities. I transferred the entire $91,000 college fund into my personal account, called my insurance, removed Rebecca effective immediately, called the phone company, removed Rebecca from my family plan, canceled her dance lessons that I'd been paying for since she was 5. Then I did some digging on her new car because something felt off about Trent's grand gesture. Here's where it gets interesting. Plot twist. Trent didn't buy Rebecca a car. He co-signed a loan with Rebecca as the primary borrower. Monthly payment, $340. Exactly what I'd been paying in child support. Rebecca's income, 0. But it gets worse. The bank had used my financial information as backing without telling me. They'd called my work, verified my employment, checked my credit. Trent had listed me as a financial reference and family support system for the loan. When the bank called for their routine verification follow-up, I told them the truth. I'm no longer providing financial support for Rebecca. Her stepdad, Trent, handles everything now. You could practically hear the bankers panic through the phone. An 18-year-old with no job, no credit history, and no family financial backing. That's a repo waiting to happen. They started asking Trent uncomfortable questions. Turns out his debt-to-income ratio was already maxed out from maintaining his fake lifestyle. The BMW, leased, the house, rented, the investments he posted about, credit card funded. 2 weeks later, Rebecca's car was gone. My ex called, screaming, "The bank took her car. They're saying you told them you wouldn't support her financially." "That's right," I said calmly. Rebecca made it very clear that Trent's her real father now. He's the one who actually invests in her future, who makes grand gestures, who actually cares about her. So I figured it was time for him to take over all the responsibilities that come with being a real dad. 2 days of silence passed before my brother sent me a news article. Trent Morrison arrested for embezzlement from State Farm Insurance. He'd been stealing from client accounts for 18 months to fund his fake lifestyle. Everything was gone. The house was raided, accounts frozen, assets seized. Patricia and Rebecca had 24 hours to vacate. My phone finally rang. It was Rebecca, not Patricia. "Dad, we're going to be homeless," she sobbed. "Mom's having a breakdown. Trent's lawyer says we might be charged too as accomplices because we benefited from the stolen money." I heard sirens in the background. "Dad, please, they're here right now." I hung up, just pressed the red button and sat there staring at my phone on the kitchen table. The screen went dark after a few seconds. I could hear my refrigerator humming, that weird sound it makes that I keep meaning to get fixed but never do. Outside, my neighbor was mowing his lawn even though it was like 8 at night. Everything felt surreal, you know? I sat there for 2 hours, just sitting, thinking about Rebecca's face when she said those words at her graduation party. The way Trent had his arm around her shoulders looking so smug. The way Patricia wouldn't even make eye contact with me. All those people watching, judging, thinking I was some deadbeat dad who never did anything for his kid. My coffee went cold in the cup. I didn't drink it anyway. I just kept playing that graduation speech over and over in my head. My real dad never did anything. That's what she said. My real dad. Like I wasn't even her real dad anymore. The thing is, I could have helped. I mean, I literally had the means to help, but something in me just couldn't do it. Not yet. I needed to see what would happen next. I needed to see if Patricia or Rebecca would actually figure this out on their own, if they'd realize what they'd lost. Around 10 p.m., Patricia called. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, how could you? She was crying, that ugly crying where you can barely get words out. How could you just hang up on her like that? She's your daughter, our daughter. She's terrified and you just hung up on her. I didn't say anything, just listened to her sob. We're at my sister's house, Patricia continued, her voice shaking. We have nowhere to go. The police came and everything. They took Trent away right in front of us. Rebecca saw everything. She's traumatized. That's unfortunate, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Unfortunate? Are you serious right now? Patricia's voice went from crying to angry real quick. Your daughter is about to be homeless and you say it's unfortunate? She made it very clear at her graduation that Trent is her real father now, I said calmly. You were there. You heard her. She said I never did anything for her, so I figured her real father, Trent, should handle this situation. But from what I'm hearing, he can't exactly do that from jail, can he? You're being cruel, Patricia hissed. You're punishing an 18-year-old girl for making one mistake, one stupid speech. One speech? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Patricia, she didn't just accidentally say something mean. She stood up in front of 50 people and humiliated me. She chose every single word. She looked at me while she said it. That wasn't a mistake. That was the choice. Trent manipulated her. He's been in her ear for months, you know that. She's just a kid who wanted someone to pay attention to her. I paid attention to her for 11 years, I said. Every single day. But Trent bought her a car she couldn't afford and suddenly I'm nothing. So now Trent can handle the consequences of his actions and Rebecca can handle the consequences of hers. You're going to let your daughter be homeless? Is that what kind of man you are? No, I said. I'm going to let you and Trent's consequences play out naturally. Rebecca chose Trent as her father figure. You chose to marry a criminal. These are your choices, Patricia, not mine. I will turn her completely against you, Patricia threatened. She already barely tolerates you. By the time I'm done, she won't even consider you her father anymore. She already doesn't, I said quietly. She made that clear. Goodbye, Patricia. I hung up before she could respond. The next morning, I called the bank that had handled Rebecca's car loan. I needed to make sure there was no financial liability tied to my name anymore. The woman who answered was super helpful, pulled up all the account information. So the vehicle was repossessed on the 15th, she confirmed, and the loan has been charged off. However, I'm seeing here that there are some additional documents that were signed by you. Additional documents? My stomach dropped a little. What kind of documents? Let me pull those up. One moment, please. I heard typing. Okay, so it looks like there was a secondary guarantee agreement signed in April. This would have made you responsible for the loan in the event of the primary borrower's default. I never signed anything in April, I said. I never signed anything for this loan at all. More typing. The signature does match the one we have on file from your previous accounts with us, sir. Trent had forged my signature. Of course he had. This guy had been embezzling from his clients for 18 months. What's a little signature forgery on top of that? The car's already been repossessed though, right? I asked. So this doesn't matter anymore? Correct. Since the vehicle has been recovered and the loan charged off, there's no outstanding liability. You're clear? I thanked her and hung up. Part of me wanted to report the forgery, but honestly, Trent was already going to prison for embezzlement. What was the point? The car was gone anyway. Let it drop. That afternoon, I got an email from Rebecca's University Financial Aid Office. The subject line read, Urgent, Financial Information Discrepancy. I opened it, already knowing what it was going to say. Dear Mr. Reich last name, we are writing to notify you of a significant discrepancy in the financial aid application for Rebecca, last name. The original FAFSA listed a college savings fund of $91,000, which was used to calculate her aid package. However, recent verification has shown this fund no longer exists. We need you to verify whether this fund was spent, transferred, or if there was an error in the original application. Failure to provide accurate information could result in charges of financial aid fraud, which would nullify Rebecca's acceptance and scholarship. Please respond within 48 hours. Financial aid fraud. They were threatening to take away her scholarship, her acceptance, everything. I sat there looking at that email for a long time. I could have lied, could have said it was a mistake, that the money was still there, but I didn't. I hit reply and typed, the college fund that was originally listed no longer exists. I am no longer providing financial support for Rebecca. Her stepfather has taken over all financial responsibilities. Rebecca should update her financial status accordingly to reflect her current situation without my support. I read it over twice, then hit send. Within an hour, I got an automated response saying my information had been received, and Rebecca's financial aid package would undergo a full review. That review could take up to 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, Patricia's sister kicked them out. My brother Zach called me and told me. Apparently, Patricia couldn't contribute anything to household expenses, and Rebecca had been crying constantly, which was disrupting everyone in the house. They're staying in some budget motel now, Zach said. You know this is getting bad, right? I'm aware, I said. And you're just gonna let it happen? Let them be homeless? They're not homeless. They're in a motel. With what money? Zach demanded. Patricia's using an emergency credit card that has like a $2,000 limit. What happens when that runs out? I guess they'll figure something out, I said, like adults do. Dude, Rebecca is 18. She's barely an adult. She was adult enough to stand up in front of 50 people and announce that I never did anything for her, I said. She was adult enough to let Trent buy her a car she knew she couldn't afford. She's adult enough to face the consequences. Zach was quiet for a second. You know what? I was actually on your side at first. What she said at that party was messed up. But this is too far, man. You think so? I said. Come over, I want to show you something. 20 minutes later, Zach was standing in my kitchen. I pulled up the video on my phone. Someone at the graduation party had recorded Rebecca's speech and posted it on social media. I downloaded it. I hit play and turned up the volume. Rebecca's voice filled the kitchen. My stepdad, Trent, actually invests in my future. My real dad never did anything like this. I finally know what it feels like to have someone who cares enough to make grand gestures. Someone who actually wants to invest in my future. I watched Zach's face as he listened. Watched him hear every word. Watch Rebecca's smiling face as she said it. See Trent's arm around her shoulders. When it ended, Zach didn't say anything. Just handed me back my phone and walked out without another word. The motel thing didn't last long. 2 weeks after they checked in, Patricia's emergency credit card got declined. The manager demanded payment and Patricia had nothing. Absolutely nothing. She tried calling her own parents, our former in-laws. They told her no. Straight up refused to help. Apparently they were furious about the whole Trent situation. Blamed Patricia for not seeing through his lies. Her dad literally told her this was what happened when you had poor judgment in men. Patricia's credit cards started getting declined everywhere. The banks were freezing accounts because of Trent's case. Anything connected to him was being investigated, which included Patricia's cards since they'd been joint accounts. Rebecca tried to get a job. She applied everywhere she could think of. Retail stores, restaurants, coffee shops. But here's the thing about living in a small town where everyone knows everyone. News travels fast. Real fast. 3 retail stores rejected her application after background checks. Why? Because her address was listed in the investigation documents for Trent's embezzlement case. She lived in the house that was purchased with stolen money. Restaurants didn't want the liability of hiring someone associated with the theft case, even if she wasn't charged with anything. By the 3rd week, I heard from Zach again. He'd run into Rebecca at the grocery store. She was in the parking lot, crying in Patricia's car. He'd walked past her, recognized her, but didn't stop. He called me afterwards. She looked rough, he said. Like, really rough. Hasn't been sleeping kind of rough. Okay, I said. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Zach? He sighed. I don't know, man. I honestly don't know anymore. I got another notification from Rebecca's university. They'd completed their review. Her full-ride scholarship had been reduced to partial aid because of the financial aid discrepancy. She now had a $30,000 annual gap to cover. Without the college fund I'd built, without my financial backing, without any co-signer, she couldn't get loans to cover it. She had 2 options. Pay $30,000 out of pocket per year or defer enrollment. I sat at my kitchen table that night with a beer I didn't really want and thought about that $91,000 sitting in my personal account. I'd worked for 12 years building that fund. Overtime shifts, skipped vacations, an old truck instead of a new one, all for Rebecca's future. And she'd thrown it away for a car she lost in 2 weeks. Rebecca actually showed up at my house one afternoon. I was in the garage working on my truck, changing the oil because I'd been putting it off for weeks. I heard footsteps and looked up. There she was, standing in the doorway. She looked awful. Her hair was greasy, pulled back in a messy ponytail. She'd lost weight, dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing the same jeans I'd seen her wear 3 times that week when I'd spotted her around town. Hey, she said quietly. I didn't respond. Just went back to the oil change. Drained the old oil into the pan, listening to it drip. I wanted to apologize, Rebecca said, for what I said at the party. I grabbed a rag, wiped my hands, didn't look at her. I didn't mean it the way it sounded, she continued. Trent he'd been telling me stuff about how you didn't care about my future, how you were just doing the minimum. And the car was so nice and I wanted to feel special, you know? I still didn't say anything, just unscrewed the oil filter. Can you please say something? Her voice cracked a little. I looked at her then, really looked at her. You said I never did anything for you. I know, and in front of 50 people, I continued. You looked at me and said I never did anything. That Trent was the one who actually cared, that he was the one who invested in your future. I was wrong, she whispered. Yeah, I said. You were. I turned back to my truck, screwed in the new oil filter, started pouring in fresh oil. Rebecca stood there for 20 minutes, just standing there watching me work. I didn't invite her inside, didn't offer her water or a seat or anything, just kept working on my truck like she wasn't there. Finally, she left. I heard her footsteps fade away, heard a car door close, heard the engine start. I didn't look up. That night, I got a letter from Rebecca's university. They needed verification of my contribution to tuition costs. There was a form attached with checkboxes. Will you be contributing to tuition costs? I checked no. Will you be providing housing support? No. Will you be providing financial assistance of any kind? No. I signed it, dated it, put it in an envelope, and mailed it the next morning. Patricia somehow got hired at a grocery store. Minimum wage, but it was something. She worked closing shifts, which meant Rebecca was alone most evenings in whatever situation they'd managed to scrape together. I heard through Zach that they'd found a shelter that accepted adult daughters, a women's shelter. Rebecca was sleeping in a room with Patricia and 3 other women, sharing a bathroom with 8 people, eating donated food. Rebecca had gone from valedictorian with a full-ride scholarship to sleeping in a homeless shelter in 2 months. The dance studio Rebecca had attended since she was 5 posted about their prize students heading off to college. They listed 8 names. Rebecca wasn't one of them, even though she'd been there for 13 years and had won multiple regional competitions. I'd paid for those lessons, every single week for 13 years. When I canceled the payment, they'd removed her from everything. No mention in the social media posts, no invitation to the end of year showcase, nothing. Like she'd never existed. My first statement came from the bank, showing that $340 that used to go to child support wasn't being deducted anymore. I looked at that line item, just empty now. No automatic withdrawal. I transferred a $340 to a separate savings account, labeled it Rebecca's Future if earned. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not Zach, not anyone. Just a little account sitting there, slowly growing. 2 days after I made that transfer, I got a call from Patricia at like 11 at night. "We got kicked out of the shelter," she said. No greeting, no hello, just that. Why? They have a 2-day late payment policy. I was 2 days late with our contribution. They kicked us out. Where are you now? My car, in a parking lot. Her voice was flat, exhausted. Rebecca's asleep in the back seat. I didn't say anything. "Please," Patricia whispered. "Please, I'm begging you. I know what she said was wrong. I know we messed up, but she's sleeping in a car. Your daughter is sleeping in a car. She's not my daughter anymore, remember?" I said. "She made that clear. Trent's her father now." "Trent is in jail," Patricia screamed. "He's in jail and we have nothing. Nothing. Are you really going to do this? Are you really going to let her suffer like this?" "Yes," I said simply, and hung up. The next day, I saw them at the grocery store. I was shopping for the week. My cart full of food. Normal stuff. Chicken, vegetables, pasta, bread, milk. Just regular grocery shopping. I turned down the bread aisle and there they were. Patricia and Rebecca standing in front of the cheapest white bread, the 89-cent kind. Rebecca was holding a jar of peanut butter, the cheap store brand. Patricia was counting, change in her hand. Rebecca looked up and saw me. Our eyes met. I watched her see my full cart, the name brand products, the fresh produce. Then she looked down at her peanut butter and bread. I walked past them without saying a word. Didn't even nod, just pushed my cart right past and turned down the next aisle. I heard Rebecca's breathing get unsteady. That sound someone makes when they're trying not to cry in public. But I kept walking. When I got home, I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes before going inside. I kept thinking about Rebecca's face, the way she'd looked at my full cart, then down at her peanut butter. I went inside anyway, put away my groceries, made myself dinner, watched TV, went to bed. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning, I pulled up Rebecca's email again, the one she'd sent me right after her car got repossessed. I deleted it, but it was still in my trash folder. I opened it and read it again. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. Trent had been telling me for months that you didn't really care about my future, that you were just doing the minimum because the court made you. He made everything sound so logical, and when he gave me the car, it felt like someone finally valued me enough to make a grand gesture. I know that sounds stupid now. I know you've been doing everything for me for years. I didn't see it, or I didn't want to see it. I'm sorry, please, I need help. We're going to be homeless. Mom's having a breakdown. I'm scared." I read it 3 times, looking for actual accountability, looking for her to say, I was wrong to say those specific words, but she didn't. She blamed Trent for manipulating her. She blamed being young and stupid. She never actually owned what she said. I deleted it again and emptied my trash folder. Patricia's sister reluctantly agreed to let them move into her garage. She had a small studio space back there that they'd converted years ago for guests. The condition was that Patricia paid $600 monthly rent, and Rebecca stayed completely silent about their situation. No posting on social media, no telling anyone they were living in a garage. Their aunt didn't want the embarrassment. They agreed. They had no choice. Rebecca deferred her college enrollment for a year. She finally got a job at a fast food place making $12 an hour. She worked the drive-through window, took orders, cleaned tables. I heard about it from Zach, who'd heard it from someone else. Small town. Everyone knows everything. I drove past that fast food place one day. Didn't mean to, just happened to be driving past. And there was Rebecca through the window, wearing the uniform, taking someone's order. Her hair was pulled back. She was smiling at the customer, but her eyes looked dead. I calculated it in my head. $12 an hour, full-time, that's about $120 a month before taxes. After taxes, maybe $600. Rent at her aunt's was $600. That left $1,000 for everything else. Food, phone, transportation, savings for college. If she wanted to save $30,000 for 1 semester of college, working full-time, it would take her roughly 3 years. 3 years to save enough for 1 semester. 4 years of college would take her 12 years to save for, working full-time. She'd be 30 before she could afford college. My workplace had a family day event in late August. They do it every year, bring your kids, free food, games, that kind of thing. I usually brought Rebecca when she was younger, but obviously she didn't come this year. My coworker Dave asked me about her. "How's Rebecca doing? Starting college soon, right? You must be proud. Valedictorian and everything." "She's taking a different path," I said vaguely. "Oh yeah? Like a gap year or something?" "Something like that." Another coworker, Jennifer, chimed in. "Hey, I think I saw her the other day. At that burger place on 5th Street? Was that her?" Probably, I said. Oh, is she working there for the summer? That's smart. Save up some money before school. I just nodded and changed the subject. But later that day, Dave came up to me privately. Hey man, is everything okay with Rebecca? Jennifer said she looks really thin, and I thought she had that full ride to State University. Things changed, I said. Do you need anything? Like if money's tight or something? The company has programs. We're fine, I cut him off. Thanks though. I wasn't fine. Rebecca wasn't fine, but I'd made my choice. That night, I was going through some paperwork and found an old insurance statement. Rebecca was still on my health insurance. I'd canceled everything else, phone, car insurance, everything. But health insurance, I'd somehow missed it. Or maybe I hadn't missed it. Maybe I'd left her on there on purpose. She was automatically covered until age 26 unless I actively removed her. I'd have to call and request her removal. I looked at that statement for a long time. Rebecca didn't know she was still on my insurance. Nobody knew. But if she got sick, if she needed a doctor, she was covered. I filed the statement away without calling to remove her. 2 weeks later, Patricia confronted Rebecca about the graduation speech. I heard about this from Zach, who heard it from Patricia's sister, who'd overheard them fighting in the garage. I should have stopped you, Patricia had said. I should have grabbed that microphone out of your hands and told you to shut up. But I didn't. You know why I didn't? Rebecca didn't answer. Because I wanted him to hurt, Patricia continued. I wanted him to feel what I felt when he left us. I knew Trent was lying to you. I knew he was manipulating you against your dad. And I let it happen because part of me thought he deserved it. You let Trent do that to me? Rebecca had asked. You let him manipulate me. I didn't stop him, Patricia admitted. And that makes me just as bad. We destroyed your relationship with your father for a car you don't even have anymore. A car that was a lie from a man who was a criminal. I am so sorry, baby. I am so sorry. They'd both cried, apparently. Big emotional breakdown in the garage studio while the aunt listened through the walls. I got gas one evening at the station on Maple Street, the one with the cheaper prices. I was inside paying when Patricia walked in. She saw me, froze, then walked over. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I'm just getting gas, I said. Please, 5 minutes. I looked at her. She'd aged 10 years in 3 months, gray showing in her hair that hadn't been there before, lines around her eyes. She looked exhausted. Fine, I said. We walked outside and stood by the gas pumps. It was awkward, just standing there while I pumped my gas. I know I messed up, Patricia started. I know I let Trent manipulate Rebecca. I thought marrying him was the right choice, you know? He seemed stable, successful. I didn't know he was a fraud. None of us did, I said. I'm trying to fix this, she continued. I got the job at the grocery store. Rebecca's working. We're trying to rebuild. Good for you, I said, watching the numbers tick up on the gas pump. But she needs her dad. She needs you. She made it very clear she doesn't need me, I said. In fact, she said I never did anything for her. So technically, me not being around now is exactly what she always wanted. That's not fair. Fair! I looked at her. Patricia, she stood up in front of 50 people and told them I was a deadbeat. She thanked Trent for being her real father. She humiliated me. And you stood right there and let it happen. I know, Patricia whispered. I know, okay? I was angry and petty and I wanted you to hurt, but I never thought it would end up like this. I never thought Rebecca would end up sleeping in a garage and working fast food. The gas pump clicked off. I removed the nozzle, put it back. That's not my problem, I said. How can you say that? She's your daughter. Is she? I asked. Because according to her, Trent was her real father. So maybe you should ask him for help. Oh wait, you can't. He's in prison. I got in my car. Patricia was crying, but I didn't care. I started the engine and drove away. I looked in my rearview mirror and saw her standing there by the pumps, just crying. I felt nothing. Rebecca worked doubles at the fast food place, saving every penny. After 2 months, she'd saved $1,800. I knew this because her aunt mentioned it to someone who mentioned it to Zach, who mentioned it to me. $1,800 saved. At that rate, she'd have $2,800 saved in a year. Still not enough for even one semester at State University with her reduced scholarship. She was trying though, I'll give her that. She was really trying. I drove past that fast food place more often than I'd like to admit. Never went in, never talked to her, just drove past. Sometimes I'd see her through the window, taking orders. Sometimes she'd be outside on her break, sitting on the curb, eating something from inside. She looked tired, always tired. Her former dance friends started posting photos from their first semester at various colleges, dorm rooms, campus activities, football games, new friends. Rebecca's social media had gone completely silent. No posts, no stories, nothing. I checked it sometimes even though she'd blocked me months ago. I had a fake account I'd made just to see if she ever posted anything. She didn't. Her last post was from her graduation, a photo of her in her cap and gown holding her valedictorian medal. The caption said, "Best day of my life. So grateful for everyone who believed in me." Trent had commented, "So proud of you, sweetheart. Only the beginning." Patricia had commented, "My baby girl, you deserve everything." I hadn't commented. I'd been standing right there when the photo was taken, but I wasn't in it. She'd specifically positioned herself so I wouldn't be in the frame. Rebecca started community college in January, taking night classes, 15 credits while working 35 hours a week. Her aunt mentioned she'd come home after her shift at the fast food place, shower, eat something quick, then head straight to class. She'd get home around 10 p.m., do homework until midnight, then sleep and do it all over again. I got her transcript in the mail. They were still required to send it to me for tax purposes, even though I wasn't paying for anything. I looked at it expecting to see maybe some B's, some C's. The schedule remedial had to be brutal. All A's. Every single class. Perfect 4.0 GPA. She was working her ass off, literally killing herself trying to make it work. I put the transcript in a drawer and didn't think about it for a week. Then I pulled it out again and looked at it. Accounting 101, business math, English composition, introduction to economics, computer applications. All A's. She'd always been smart, always. Even as a little kid, she'd been the one who figured stuff out faster than other kids. I used to help her with homework at the kitchen table, and she'd get concepts immediately, then explain them back to me better than I'd explained them to her. I put the transcript back in the drawer. Her university acceptance expired in February. She got a final letter in the mail. I knew because it was also copied to me as her parent on record. The letter said if she wanted to attend state university, she'd need to reapply completely. Her valedictorian status wouldn't guarantee admission or scholarships anymore. She'd compete with a new pool of applicants, and she'd be evaluated based on her current circumstances and academic record. Basically, she'd lost everything. The full ride, the guaranteed admission, all of it, gone. I calculated what I'd been saving in the Rebecca's Future If Earned account. 10 months of $340 monthly deposits. That was $3,400. Not enough to pay for college. Not even close. But it was something. I didn't know what I was saving it for. Didn't know if I'd ever actually give it to her. Maybe I just needed to know it was there. Proof that I hadn't completely abandoned her, even if she didn't know about it. Patricia's sister told someone who told Zach, who told me that Patricia had started dating someone new. Some guy named Glenn, who worked at the grocery store with her. He was 52, divorced, drove a beat-up sedan, lived in a small apartment. She's gonna do it again, Zach said when he told me. She's gonna jump into another relationship and it's gonna be the same shit all over again. Not my problem, I said. Rebecca thinks it is, Zach said. Apparently she tried to talk to Patricia about it and they had a big fight. Rebecca said she can't believe Patricia would start dating some random dude when they're barely surviving in a garage, and Patricia said she deserves to be happy. She does deserve to be happy, I said. Yeah, but at what cost? Zach asked. I didn't answer. Glenn moved into Patricia and Rebecca's garage studio, 3 people in a small studio apartment that was barely big enough for one person. Rebecca told her aunt she wanted to move out, but she had nowhere to go and no money for a deposit on her own place. She was trapped. I heard she came home from work one day to find Glenn's stuff all over the small space. His clothes hanging in the tiny closet where her stuff used to be, his toiletries in the bathroom, his dirty dishes in the sink. She called Patricia at work and told her this wasn't okay, that she hadn't agreed to this. Patricia said it was happening whether Rebecca liked it or not. That's when Rebecca started looking for a room to rent near her community college. She found one for $450 a month, utilities included. It was in someone's basement, barely a room, more like a storage space with a bed and a dresser, but it was hers. She saved up for the deposit. First month, last month, security deposit. That was one of $350s. Plus she needed money for a bus pass to get to work and school, plus food, toiletries, everything. She did it in 3 months, worked every shift she could, picked up overtime, even started delivering food on the weekends with her mom's car when Patricia didn't need it. By April, she moved out of her aunt's garage. I heard about it from Zach, who drove by the basement rental one day and saw Rebecca carrying a box inside. He said she looked thin, exhausted, but determined. She's really doing it, Zach said. She's actually making it work. Good for her, I said. You're proud of her, Zach said. It wasn't a question. I didn't say that. You don't have to. I can tell. I didn't respond. But yeah, maybe I was. A little bit. She'd gone from having everything handed to her, from being valedictorian with a full ride scholarship, to working at a fast food place and living in someone's basement. And she was surviving. She was actually doing it. I got another transcript in May. Still perfect 4.0. 15 credits while working 35 hours a week. All A's. She'd completed 30 credits of community college. She only needed 30 more to transfer to a 4-year university. I found myself calculating it. If she kept this pace, she'd have her associate degree by December. Then she could transfer, maybe to a state school with a better financial aid package since she'd be classified as an independent student now. It would take longer. She'd probably need to work through her entire bachelor's degree, maybe take 5 or 6 years instead of 4. But she could do it. She was proving she could do it. I looked at the Rebecca's Future If Earned account. It had $4,120 in it now. 13 months of deposits. Still not enough for anything significant, but it was growing. I went to the grocery store where Patricia worked one day. I knew she worked day shifts now, so I went at night to avoid her. But while I was checking out, the cashier made small talk. You're Rebecca's dad, right? I looked up. The cashier was a young guy, maybe 20. Name tag said, Dylan. Yeah, I said. She talks about you sometimes, Dylan said. Well, not really talks about you. More like mentions you. She's in my accounting class at the community college. Okay, I said, not sure where this was going. She works really hard, Dylan continued. Like, really hard. I've never seen anyone work as hard as she does. She's got this whole system, you know? She works here in the mornings, takes classes at night, does homework between everything. She's like a machine. That's good, I said. She seems sad though, Dylan said quietly. Like, even when she smiles, she seems sad. I didn't say anything. I just paid for my groceries and left. But I thought about what he said. Even when she smiles, she seems sad. I got home and sat in my living room with a beer, thinking about Rebecca at 7 years old. How she used to smile at everything. How she'd laugh at the stupidest jokes. How she'd get excited about the smallest things. When did that stop? When did she stop being that happy kid? Was it the divorce? Was it Trent? Was it me? I fell asleep on the couch that night, the beer still half full on the coffee table. Rebecca got accepted to State University's transfer program in June. I got the notification because I was still listed as her parent in the system, even though I wasn't providing any support. The cost was $15,000 per year. She'd have to cover it all herself. Tuition, books, housing, everything. They offered her a small grant, $3,000 annually, but that still left $12,000 per year she'd need to cover. She'd saved $8,000 from working for a year. That would cover her first semester, but she'd need to keep working full-time through college to afford the rest. I looked at that acceptance letter for a long time. She'd done it. She'd actually clawed her way back. From homeless in a motel, to a garage studio, to a basement apartment, to community college, to finally getting accepted to transfer to State University. Without my help, without my money, without anything from me. She'd done it completely on her own. That night, I added another entry to my journal. I'd started keeping a journal after the graduation party, just writing down everything that happened, how I felt about it, what I was thinking. I wrote, Rebecca got into State University today. She did it herself. I'm not sure if I'm proud or sad or angry or what. Maybe all of it. Maybe none of it. I don't know anymore. I closed the journal and put it away. Patricia and Glenn got engaged in July. I heard about it when Zach called me laughing. 6 months, he said. 6 months and she's getting married again. Unbelievable. She can do what she wants, I said. Rebecca's pissed, Zach said. Apparently, Patricia told her Glenn's moving into whatever place they get together, and Rebecca's not invited. She said Rebecca's an adult now and needs to live on her own. Rebecca already is living on her own, I said. Exactly. But Patricia's acting like she's doing Rebecca a favor by not letting her move in with them. I didn't say anything. You should call Rebecca, Zach said. She could probably use her dad right now. I'm not her dad, remember? I said. Trent was her real dad. Come on, man. She was 18 and stupid. You're really gonna hold that against her forever? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. Rebecca moved into a small room near State University in August. I knew because I saw her address change in the university system. They still sent me notifications even though I'd made it clear I wasn't paying for anything. The new address was a house that had been converted into student rentals. 5 bedrooms, shared kitchen, and bathroom. Her rent was $425 a month, which was actually less than her basement apartment, but she'd have to share everything with 4 strangers. She was scheduled to start classes in 3 weeks. I looked at the Rebecca's Future If Earned account. 17 months of deposits. It had $5,880 in it. Still not life-changing money, but it was something. I thought about what I would do with it. Give it to her when she graduated? Use it to pay off her student loans after she got her degree? Keep it forever as a reminder of what we'd lost? I didn't know. I received Rebecca's housing information for tax purposes in late August. She'd listed herself as financially independent with no parental support. Under emergency contact, she'd listed Patricia's number, not mine. I stared at that for a long time. Emergency contact, not her father. I'd expected it, obviously, but seeing it in writing hit different. I looked at the Rebecca's Future If Earned account one more time. $5,780, almost $6,000 saved over 17 months. Then I looked at the address she'd listed, that small room in the converted house near State University, and I made a decision. I transferred $6,000 from the savings account to my checking account. Then I drove to the bank and withdrew it all in cash. 60 $100 bills. I put the cash in a plain white envelope. No note, no card, nothing. Just cash. Then I drove to Rebecca's new address. It was late afternoon. Most of the students were probably out or not moved in yet since classes hadn't started. I parked down the street and walked up to the house. There was a mailbox at the end of the driveway with slots for each unit. I found Rebecca's unit number, 3B, and slid the envelope inside. Then I walked back to my car and drove away.